Hello dear students, I am Professor Priya Kulkarni from Parvatibai Genba Mose College of Engineering, Fagoli, Pune. Here we'll start with the next topic, that is flexibility methods of analysis. There are two parallel methods. One is flexibility matrix method and second one is stiffness method. These two methods are going parallelly. There are some differences between these two methods, but overall the formulation of the matrices and all those things will be in parallel ways. Will be quite similar and quite a difference between these two methods. Okay, now before starting with the our flexibility matrix, or what is flexibility exactly, we'll go through the background that we are required to learn about the flexibility method or about the matrix that we are going to form. So in this video we'll learn about the background, or we'll go towards our the some basic concepts that we already know, that we have seen in our essay 1 part and in our mathematics part. Mathematics parts we require here for the formulation of matrix. It is a simple matrix method. We don't have to prepare long 5 by 6 type of matrix. We have to prepare here 2 by 3 or 3 by 3 type of matrix. We have only 3, and maximum limit is up to 3 unknowns. So we have to prepare a matrix of 3 by 3. So I'll start with the what are the actions and displacements. The forces the forces and movements acting on the structure are known as actions. An action is most commonly a single force or a couple. It may be also a combination of loads and moments. And the force, loads and moments that they have shown in the diagram, that is P1, P2, M, VA, HA and RB acting on the beam, are called actions. Now just see here, there are two terms, that is first one is force and another one is action. For every force that is present on that particular structure or a beam, column, footing, anything structural member, for that particular force, that particular beam has to give an action. Again I am repeating, here we are going to apply Newton's third law, that is for every action there is equal and opposite amount of reaction. Then and then only we can maintain the stability, we can maintain the equilibrium. Then action is the implication of the force. That may be in the form of horizontal force, vertical force, inclined force. It can be split into two parts, that is F sin theta and F cos theta. Likewise, it can be in the form of couple, it can be in the form of movement. So an action is most commonly a single force or a couple. It may be also a combination of loads and movements. Now just consider this section AA of this beam, this A section. Now just see this diagram. This is hinge support, right? This support is hinge support. So there is one horizontal force and one vertical force. That horizontal and vertical force, horizontal force is denoted by N, vertical force is denoted by V, and there is a I'll repeat once again. This end is roller supported, so there is having only one upward reaction. This P force is inclined, so it can be split into two parts. Now just for inclined forces, it can be split into two parts. This component is F sin theta and horizontal component is F cos theta. Theta is the angle between the horizontal line and the force, angle of inclination. So these are the forces, and the support reactions or support movements are known as these are the forces, and the support movements, support reactions that will be produced in that particular beam are known as the actions. Then just have a look at the for below diagram, and that is this is a cantilever beam having two loads P1 and P2. Okay, and it is deflected with the amount of delta 1. Okay, amount of delta 1, and it has a rotation of theta 1. Now just keep in mind the downward displacement of the beam is known as deflection. It is its new unit is mm, okay, or meter. It is the downward deflection. It can be measured in meter or mm. And theta, that is rotation, and it can be measured in degrees or radians. Okay, so because of this force that is at the overhang end, because of this force the uh, point B or the overhang end rotates and translates. Okay, rotation is denoted by theta and translation is denoted by delta. Okay, and these two, rotation and translation, is known as displacements. Okay, this is very important. Again I will repeat: rotation theta and deflection delta 1, or sorry, translation delta 1. Rotation and translation, both these commonly known as displacement. Just don't only consider displacement as a deflection, that is measured in mm. The rotation also is known as a displacement. Okay, the beam is displacing, the beam or the particular end is having some amount of displacement or movement, then it is known as displacement. Now the deflection, now here the deflection delta 1 corresponding to force P1, that is concentrated force, and is taken in the positive direction of the force. Okay, now this deflection delta 1 is in the direction of force. Okay, in the direction of force is very important. Okay, I'll repeat this statement again and again in this chapter. Okay, in the direction of force means what? The P force is applied vertically downward, and this deflection is happening vertically downward. Okay, that's why this deflection is in the direction of force. Okay, and if the deflections or rotations are in the direction of force or movement, then it is considered as positive. Now this is the new sign convention rule that we are going to use in this flexibility matrix method. Okay, what is that rule? If the deflection or rotation, or commonly the displacement, is in the direction of force, then it is taken as positive. If it is not in the direction of force, then it is taken as negative. Okay, these are the sign convention, and we are going to use these sign conventions. Okay, similarly rotation theta 1 is said to be corresponding of m1, that is couple, and is taken positive in the direction of couple. Now again here I will tell you one more important factor, that is because of vertical loads or horizontal loads there is a displacement. Okay, there is a displacement as a deflection. Okay, that is measured in mm. There is a deflection because of loads, vertical or horizontal loads, there is a deflection. And because of movement or couple, couple is also a movement, so I will use the term movement only. Because of movement there will develop a rotation theta. Okay, and if now just see this movement is clockwise, and this I will show here, and this Sign of this theta is also in clockwise direction, right? Like this. Okay, this is the clockwise direction. This is also clockwise direction. Okay, so the corresponding movement or couple is taken positive in the direction of couple. Okay, that's why theta 1 will consider as positive. Okay, is it clear to you? Here we have studied two rules, that is first one is, if the external vertical forces are there, then the beam will undergo deflection, and if the beam is subjected to movement or couple, then the beam will undergo a rotation theta. And second point is, if the deflection or rotation is in the direction of force or movement, if the force is applied vertically downward, then that deflection must be in vertically downward, then it will be considered as positive, otherwise we'll consider it as negative. Similarly, because of movement, whatever will be the rotation developed, if that rotation is in the direction of force, then we'll consider it as a positive. Okay, this is the first point that you have to remember. Then second point that you have to remember, the force P1. Now see, I have shown here again the to make you clear about the action, and what I am telling you about the in the direction of the force or in the direction of movement, you will get much more clear picture by seeing these four diagrams. The force P1 and displacement delta 1 are corresponding to action and deflection. Okay. Similarly, moment M1 and displacement theta 1 are corresponding to action and displacement. We shall use later, now just refer these four diagrams A, B, C, D. We shall use letter A for action for both load and movement. Okay, whatever it is, load or movement, we'll use A for action, and letter D for displacement, including both translation and rotation. Okay, I am repeating this once again. Displacement is combination of deflection and rotation. Okay, so we'll use letter D for translation and rotation. Now here just consider this A diagram, this diagram. Okay, this is very important part that we are going to cover here. If because of this A1 force, the beam will undergo a deflection of D1. Okay, and we will indicate it as D11. Now what is D11 or what is Dij? Okay, now this is this notation that is D11. Okay, the first one will represent corresponding to action A1, and this is the action caused because of the A1 force. Okay, so this is the displacement or deflection or rotation that is caused because of this force 1, A1. So D11 is the displacement at point A caused by force A1. Okay, now similarly, because of A2, sorry, because of this force A2, there is also a downward displacement deflection D2. Okay, then we'll indicate it as D22. Okay, it is at the position 2 and it is because of the force A2. Okay, so this first it denotes as a location, and this is because of action. Okay, just remember this. I am telling you very short, in very short cut form. D22 is represent, this is location and this is action. Okay, action because of a1, a2, a3 whatever, and this is the location, that is at point 1, point 2, point 3 likewise. Okay, just mark it in your notebook also. Now just consider this second diagram. Okay, D12, what is D12? Now I have told this first 1 and 2. Okay, this first character signifies the location and the second character signifies the force or action, because of what or because of whom this displacement has happened. Okay, so this in this first diagram we have applied force 1 a1 to all these points 1 2 and this rotation part. Okay, so just these are denoted with the 1 2 1 3. Okay, 1 1 likewise. Now here we have applied force 2, that's why you will see at the end, that is D32, D22 and D12, the second character is because of the action that we have applied as A2 force. Okay, so A12 means displacement at the point 1 because of A2 force, likewise displacement at the point 2 because of A2 force. Okay, now these are the basic rules that I have explained. Now let us see about the third part. Okay, here we'll apply, here we'll apply a movement part. Okay, A3 is the movement that we'll consider. Now just consider a A1 part or first point, it is having a displacement of 1 3, D13. Okay, this is the location and this is the action. So displacement at the point 1 because of A3 force. Okay, similarly D23 displacement at the point 2 because of A3 force likewise. So here I have explained. A31 indicates displacement corresponding to action A3 caused by action A1. Okay, first character is location and second character is action. Okay, the same thing I have explained here. Just note it down. Dij is the displacement corresponding to action I caused by action J. Okay, and we are going to sum up all these displacement at the particular locations. Okay, at the particular location because of the actions. Now the principle states that the effects produced by several causes can be obtained by combining the effect due to individual cause. Okay, and this principle we are going to use for the flexibility matrix, and from this principle we will derive our flexibility matrix. Okay, D1 means it is displacement at the first position because of first A1 force, A2 force, A3 force. Okay, now what is D2? That is displacement at displacement because of second action, that is at different places. Okay, likewise. So we'll use this principle of superposition and we'll derive our flexibility matrix. Now the last part in this video is equilibrium and compatibility. So we know the equilibrium condition. There are three equilibrium conditions: summation fx, summation fy, and summation of movement, that is mz is equals to 0 for two dimensional forces. Okay, that is summation of horizontal forces is equals to 0, summation of vertical forces is equals to 0, and summation of horizontal forces is equals to summation of movement is equals to 0. Okay, and a body is said to be in static equilibrium if it is at rest Okay, and it has to satisfy this condition, that is summation of the vertical, horizontal and movements is equals to 0 is very important. If the structure satisfies this requirement, then it is in the equilibrium, and we have to use the complete, we are going to use this equilibrium condition when there is a static equilibrium. If the structure is not in the static equilibrium, then we have to use some additional equations. Because of this equilibrium condition, we are not able to calculate the unknown forces. Okay, then we'll go for the compatibility equations. Just listen carefully. The conditions of compatibility refer to continuity of displacement throughout the structure, that is, they express the conditions relating the displacement of the structure. Okay, these conditions are from geometry of the structure. Just remember, the complete compatibility conditions are basically will derive from the geometry of the structure. That is, deflection at hinge support must be 0. Okay, is a condition of compatibility. Means whatever we are having the support condition, or whatever we are having the movements from that given structure geometry, from the given structure and from the geometry, we can uh, derive, or we know some basic rules. That is, if there is a fixed end, we have three unknowns. If there is a hinge support, then the deflection at the hinge support is 0, and if there is a fixed end, the deflection at the fixed end is 0. Okay, likewise, so we are going to use this compatibility condition by looking at the geometry of the structure, and the compatibility conditions provide additional equations for solving the indeterminate structure. This is very important, and we are going to see the indeterminate structure. We are analyzing the indeterminate structure here. Okay, and we'll use these compatibility equations, and then we'll find out the unknown value, and we'll make the structure in stable form. Okay, so this is the idea behind the compatibility equations, and by using these equations we'll calculate our unknown forces. Okay, so this is the basic background that we required for the flexibility method of analysis. Okay, thank you. If you have any doubts regarding the content of the video, then you can contact me directly. Thank you.